Welcome to Info Hub Recap. We look back at the past week's main issues. In our headlines, the 12th Annual National Two Showers Conference was hosted this week. Purika's telling to get long overdue upgrade. The International Monetary Fund commended Guyana for its prudent financial management. The GRA gets a state-of-the-art scanner. And November 12th is LGE Day. These stories and much more in this week's Info Hub Recap. First, we tell you that Minister of Finance Winston Jordan commissioned early childhood development centers in Annsgrove and Ithaca on Saturday. Here's that report.
Having a safe educational space for infants to 5-year-olds, Minister Jordan said gives parents the opportunity to become their own bosses.
We want people exposed so that they can empower themselves and not keep looking to government either for a handout or for a job. The best employer is yourself.
The centers will provide educational services to 90 children. Each has an administrative area, storage spaces, a kitchenette, a laundry room, sanitary facilities, and an outdoor play area. The centers were made possible through a collaborative effort between the Basic Needs Trust Fund and the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Youth Empowerment. Basic Need Trust Fund also trained 16 young women as early childhood educators this year. 3 young women from Annsgrove and 2 from Ithaca will receive scholarships to attend the University of Guyana. They receive their Level 1 certifications in early childhood development. A Blairmont resident, Alia Kudwatala, is a scholarship recipient.
I'm lucky to be working here at this new facility because we were well trained and it will be a new job opportunity for me. A new working experience.
Gail Hunter, a mother, is one of the women employed to work as a caregiver at the Annsgrove ECDC.
As a mom, it will give us a chance to go out and work and develop ourselves so that we can provide for our children.
Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
Many persons are eagerly anticipating the modernization of the Purika Stelling, which is expected to begin within weeks. Anaro Khan has the details.
The Purika Stelling is one of the projects identified by the Caribbean Development Bank for upgrades to its facilities. This project is being welcomed by all stakeholders. A Legwan Community Development Officer, Amjad Shaw, is looking forward to the Purika Stelling's modernization.
I'm looking forward to a state-of-the-art Stelling, explore the possibilities, where you can have a variety of activities going on.
A Bonasika Creek farmer, Bobby Singh, stated that he is hopeful that with the new Stelling, farmers will have a bigger place to sell their produce without any interference.
It's only this party we could give us sell. And yeah, every load will come here, different body. You see, if one next boat come in with produce, now we make a space. This party and that party again a black up. If you get a space like how they got the vacants there, they could get full look after there. We can get to produce there. Everybody can get a part for sale.
Bartika's Deputy Mayor, Nagaswani Kamal Lochan Prashad, commended the project, which will improve the gateway to the hinterland.
I think it is very important to the other regions linking to this region because I see this area as a main port of transporting goods especially. What I would love to see for this area is to be open wider because there are times that vehicles need to access the Stelling to get on the boats, to get to Wakenham, to get to Legwan, to get to Essequibo.
Work on the $15 million Purika Stelling upgrade will start within weeks. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
The 12th Annual National Two Showers Conference officially opened on Monday under the theme, Preserving Our Past, Protecting Our Future. And President David Granger, in his feature address, called for focus on improving village life. Stacey Carmichael was there and filed this report.
President David Granger, delivering the feature address, said the conference provides the opportunity for the development of long-term village improvement plans.
NDC must plan, and plans must aim at ensuring more sustainable and secure livelihoods, boosting human well-being, creating increased opportunities, and reducing inequalities between the coastland and hinterland communities. I therefore urge the annual NTC conference to establish itself as a vehicle for change, as a vehicle for delivering public services to the indigenous peoples. This conference is about the future, not about the past. It is about planning. It is about implementing those plans. It is about creating institutions to ensure accessible, affordable, and appropriate public services in all Indigenous communities.
Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs Sidney Alicock called on the incoming National Two Shows Council to respect their offices and focus on the development of the Indigenous people they serve.
Attempts to use this invaluable institution by anyone or any group for the furtherance of any selfish, narrow, personal, or partisan objective must be rejected.
Minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, Valerie Garrido-Lowe, urged the Council to be aware of those persons seeking to sow seeds of discord among the Indigenous people.
You have to give yourself a chance to work together and do not sow the seeds of division and discontent. If this was your main reason for being on the Council, then you're in the wrong place and should send in your resignation immediately.
Outgoing chair of the National Two Shows Council, Joel Fredericks, challenged the incoming executive to defend the rights of the Indigenous people with integrity.
Differences will always be there. Peace means solving these differences through peaceful means, through dialogue, education, knowledge, and through humane ways. Let us continue to work together.
During the 5-day conference, Two Shows and village leaders will have the opportunity to engage ministers of government and vote for new executives. From the Arthur Chung Conference Center, with senior videographer Derek Bridge-Mohan, Stacey Carmichael for InfoHub.
Local government elections preparations are moving into high gear. Training of personnel has commenced. Here are the details.
The two-day exercise session was designed to help participants develop an understanding of the organizational structure that will facilitate the efficient conduct of local government elections. These trainers will then instruct persons identified to manage the LGE, such as the field staff and returning officers. Chairman of GCOM, retired Justice James Patterson, said free and fair elections are one of the qualities that must permeate GCOM and those who function in it.
Democracy and free and fair elections are like conjoined Siamese twins. You can't get one without the other. You, in a great sense, are running the elections to come. It is upon your shoulders that the twin qualities stand, so that at the end of it all parties can say, yes, these elections are free and fair.
The chairman emphasized GCOM's importance. He noted that the elections commissions across the globe must endure over time, since politicians come and go at the request of the electorate. He urged the participants to make full use of the training. Crystal Stahl for InfoHub.
Minister of Citizenship Winston Felix is spearheading efforts to address the influx of Venezuelans into this country's border communities. More in this report.
Today, the heads of several government agencies, including those from the Ministries of Social Protection, Public Health and Communities, along with the Guyana Police Force and Civil Defense Commission, met to address the increasing number of Venezuelans entering Guyana at the borders. The meeting is said to be a coordinated effort to give form and structure to the government's response in this regard.
And I can say for sure that during the course of this week, we'll be reinforcing the Immigration Department in Region 1 to deal with the irregular arrivals of Venezuelans into Guyana. We know for sure that there are 150 approximately at Whitewater. We're trying to confirm the situation at other locations in Region 1 and in Region 7.
Meanwhile, the government is working to facilitate the refugees comfortably. Just recently, much-needed supplies for the accommodation of these refugees were sent to the villages near the border shared with Venezuela.
There is minimal arrangement in there because what has been happening is that Guyanese residents have been very accommodating, but not all the Venezuelans are being accommodated. There are those who are sleeping outdoors. So for those, we have sent tarpaulins, hammocks, blankets, pillows, cots. Those of Ghanaian. So you have one set being accommodated by residents, and we have sent in what we think is necessary to accommodate those who are in the open.
A delegation from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Citizenship has returned from Puerto Ordaz, a border town in Venezuela, where an assessment was conducted to ascertain the effectiveness of government's response to the current situation. Renetta LaFleur for InfoHub.
On Tuesday, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu stated that claims that the government has broken a number of promises made to indigenous peoples are not true. Here's more.
I don't see this as a question of making or breaking promises. I see this as a process. I see this as working in collaboration with various agencies and levels of governance to be able to produce a better life for our people.
Prime Minister Nagamutu described that land titling is an ongoing issue and noted that some titles will be distributed soon. Prime Minister Nagamutu also described the Commission of Inquiry into Land as very important.
One has to take things within a context that it's not an attempt to, say, deprive indigenous peoples of communal land, but as part and parcel of a national effort to do a land inventory so that we can have better utilization of land resources.
So far, 13 communities have applied for absolute grants for the first time. Out of that amount, 7 have received approval and 6 demarcated. Out of 23 communities, 14 have been issued with certificates of title. The Amerindian Land Title Project seeks to achieve 3 major goals: completion of land title issues and demarcation process for all Amerindian villages that submitted requests, increased use of existing and alternative mechanisms to resolve land titling disputes, and thirdly, a communication strategy including a handbook describing the process of titling, demarcation, and social economic impact of secured land tenure. Gabriela Patram for InfoHub.
GRA and Guyana National Industrial Corporation have a new high-tech container scanner which will be able to detect illicit drugs and other illegal items. Here is Anara again.
The scanning facility is the first of its kind in Guyana and was a gift from the People's Republic of China. Guyana Revenue Authority Commissioner General Godfrey Stacia said it comes at a crucial time for Guyana.
Many countries to which Guyana exports require scanning at source, and Guyana was in danger of losing these markets for lack thereof because of our failure of meeting certain international trade guidelines for trade facilitation.
Stacia stressed that the new scanning facility will not only reduce the time and cost of trade transaction, but will also aid in increasing the collection of revenues. Minister of Finance Winston Jordan described the facility as a crucial cog in the fight against money laundering, drug trade, and other illegal activities.
As it has shown and borne out, if you do check barrels more than just spot check, you'll be amazed to see what comes into this country via the barrel, including guns. So this scanner, by scanning the goods, you will be able to detect illegal exports and other kinds of exports that are not supposed to be leaving this country.
An additional relocatable scanner is expected to arrive before the end of this year and will be housed at the same facility. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
Tiffany Rogers tells us that the Guyana Gold Board is assuring that the highest safety measures are in place for operations at its new facility.
The Guyana Gold Board is now operating out of Crown Street. General Manager Andreen Thompson says the board has acquired new equipment to ensure burning of gold is safely done.
We have sourced an equipment, that's the mercury control equipment. It has been vetted by the PAHO HO experts who were here.
The new facility is currently being retrofitted to ensure the burning room meets occupational health and safety standard. Thompson said the strictest safety protocols will be followed.
I am very confident that this will work because the daily checks will be in place, the equipment to ensure that even if there is any emission, it will give the indication and we will immediately stop burning.
Live testing of the equipment is being done during the course of this week. The Gold Board seized burning gold at its Brick Dam complex following higher than expected mercury emissions. The site has been successfully cleaned up. Thompson says the Gold Board has been meeting with residents around the new facility to personally give assurances.
I will never ever want any mercury emission to be affecting this community. I will never. As much as I am for the country not losing foreign exchange, because you would realize that Guyana Gold Board is one of the major foreign exchange earners in Guyana. So I would like to preserve that and make it more advancing, but not at the expense of anyone's health.
The GGB will continue to utilize the services of one of its dealers in the burning of gold until the new facility comes online. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Immigration and passport offices are coming to Bartica and Lethem. Seneca Thorne got the details from Minister of Citizenship, Winston Felix.
I have gotten the land for Bartico, just somewhere by 11th Avenue or 7th Avenue. I think it's 7th Avenue. Somewhere around there, I have the land. I'm getting the documentation in order now. Last month, before the last, I was in Lethem, and I got land in Lethem.
Passport and immigration offices are currently under construction at Linden Region 10 and New Amsterdam Region 6. Minister Felix said that sites in Essequibo Region 2 and Mabruma in Region 1 are being considered. Minister Felix explained that efforts are being made to ensure all persons, regardless of their location, are registered at birth.
My other ambition is to see the outreaches, not just finding persons who don't have a birth certificate and having that document checked for, prepared, and returned. But I would like offices to be delivering the birth certificates.
These initiatives are part of government's effort to decentralize the services offered by the Central Immigration Office and the Guyana Registrar Office. Seneca Thorne, InfoHub.
On Wednesday, we learned that the International Monetary Fund commended Guyana for its restrained borrowing and prudent financial management. Stacey has more.
In a July 13 report titled IMF Executive Board Concludes Article 4 Consultation with Guyana, the organization said Guyana's restraint towards borrowing comes at a time when the country's medium-term prospects are very favorable. With oil production to start in 2020, the IMF said the additional oil discoveries have significantly improved the medium and long-term outlook. The IMF's observation over prudent borrowing validates concerns by the Ministry of Finance of the prospect of what is termed the pre-source curse. This involves the unrealistic expectations over anticipated oil or commodity revenues, which can create, among other issues, immediate demands for increased public sector wages or spending on infrastructure. Economic growth is projected to be 3.4% in 2018, driven by continued strength in the construction and rice sectors and a recovery in gold mining. The IMF advises that Guyana relies as much as possible on multilateral development banks, including their non-concessional financing operations. Development of the domestic capital markets would provide a more stable source of financing and help meet the needs of domestic long-term institutional investors. The report recommended that private external borrowing should continue to be avoided and central bank financing should not be used at all. The IMF also forecasts that the current account deficit is projected to narrow to 6.1 and 4.3% of gross domestic product, GDP, in 2018 and 2019 respectively. The deficit will be financed largely by foreign direct investment or FDI inflows and donor-supported investment.
The central government deficit is projected to widen to 5.4 and 5.1% of GDP in 2018 and 2019 due to the cost of restructuring the sugar sector and an increase in infrastructure-related capital expenditure. While public debt is projected to rise in the short term, it is forecast to decline with the onset of oil production. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
Minister of Public Security Kemraj Ramchitan assures the government remains committed to end the scourge of human trafficking. This came as he formally opened a training course of the Corps of Wardens attached to the Ministry of Natural Resources Wednesday morning. Later that day, Shulinab Tushau Nicholas Fredericks was elected unopposed as the new chairman of the National Tushau's Council as elections were at the Arthur Chung Convention Center. Fredericks replaced Joel Fredericks, the former Tushau of Mainstay Wayaka Village. Paul Pierre, Tushau of Cubano, was elected vice chairman, and Russian Doric of Yupukari was elected treasurer. Maribel Thomas of Campbelltown was elected treasurer. Speaking at the EU CELAC foreign ministers' meetings in Brussels, Vice President Carl Greenwich said states have a collective responsibility to protect the planet. Here is Tiffany again.
Minister Greenwich reminded states they have a collective responsibility to protect the planet. Minister Greenwich noted shared actions by individual countries do not match responsibility. He explained it is often the owners of resources who bear the cost of protecting the environment. Established in 2011, the Regional Forum CELAC provides a platform for 33 countries within Latin America and the Caribbean to exchange dialogue and collaborate on political agreements. On the sideline of the meeting, which was held from July 16 to 17, the EU High Representative for Foreign and Security Policy, Frederica Mogherini, and CARIFORUM Ministers of Foreign Affairs met. The EU announced a €74 million support package to respond to the reconstruction efforts of Cuba, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, who were most affected by the hurricanes Irma and Maria. The response package is a direct follow-up of the pledge made by the EU at the UN CARICOM Pledging Conference of November in 2017. Both sides looked forward to the launch of negotiations between the EU and the African, Caribbean and Pacific Group of States, ACP, on the post-Cotonou Agreement, took note of the respective negotiating mandates and underlined their commitment to a framework that allows for the further development of joint partnerships. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
On Thursday, President David Granger met the opposition leader to discuss the appointment of Police and Public Service Commission appointments.
The meeting was held at State House. The leader of the opposition was accompanied by former Attorney General Anil Nandlal and Opposition Chief Whip Gail Teixeira, while Minister of State Joseph Harmon and Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Basil Williams accompanied President Granger. Minister Harmon explained the meeting was to satisfy constitutional requirements for the establishment of the Public and Police Service Commissions.
The requirement was for meaningful consultation and not necessarily agreement. And so that consultation took place, and now I believe we can proceed with having the two commissions established, and the President will, at a short time from now, have those two commissions sworn in, so the work can continue.
In June, the National Assembly adopted the nominees for the Public and Police Service Commission. Retired Assistant Commissioner of Police Paul Slow is among the 3 nominees for the Police Service Commission, while Vincent Brown was one of the 2 adopted for the Public Service Commission. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
November 12 was announced as the date for local government elections by Minister of Communities Ronald Bulkan during his presentation at the 12th National Tushau's Council Conference.
Local government elections will again be held later this year, in November of this year. And in fact, though I've not made a public announcement before, and it was not my intention to do so, an order is expected, an order issued by me is expected to be gazetted today, naming the November 12th to be the date when local government elections will be held.
This is the second local government elections to be held under the current administration. These elections are constitutionally due every 2 years. Under the 23-year-old PPP administration, they were only held once.
It speaks to the commitment and the sincerity and the determination of this administration to honor pledges given by it when we were in opposition, to rebuild this broken and damaged system of local government that we that we inherited.
Minister Balkan made the announcement today as he addressed the 12th Annual National Two Shows Council at the Artichon Convention Center. He was among a team of ministers on hand to address matters of concern to the indigenous leaders. Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
We end this week's recap with the post-cabinet roundup. Here is Stacey Carmichael.
Minister of State Joseph Harmon said President David Granger received a call from former U.S. President Jimmy Carter. Discussions focused on the state of talks between the government and opposition. The president indicated 3 areas that he wishes to speak on with the opposition leader. These include national security, the oil and gas sector, and the environment. During his conversation with Carter, President Granger restated his willingness to engage the opposition.
Some time ago, the president did in fact indicate to the opposition that the leadership of the government team will be the Prime Minister and other ministers as may be assigned from time to time. But you know that the opposition has been very selective in the matters which they wanted to deal with. In the appointment of boards and commissions, they have chosen which are the ones they will go to. At meetings to which they were invited, they have chosen the ones on which they will come. And so it's basically been a sort of a picking and choosing by them. But as far as the government is concerned, the president has always made it clear that we are interested in dialogue.
Minister Harmon added that the president, in the interest of moving the process forward, agreed to lead the talks after the opposition objected to the Prime Minister, Moses Nagamutu, leading them.
The opposition, as you know, they have always tried to disrespect our Prime Minister. Our Prime Minister, of course, has actually treated that with dignity and aplomb in the way he executes the functions of his office. But they have actually said some very terrible things sometimes about our Prime Minister in the National Assembly, but you've been there, the press have always been there, and you've heard the exchanges. But I think that our Prime Minister is doing an excellent job as Prime Minister, and the assignments which have been assigned to the Prime Minister, I think he's carried out them with efficiency.
The senior minister announced that President Granger has agreed to allocate a larger plot of land for the construction of the Secretariat for the National Two Shows Council, NTC. Government is considering some of the Gaisuko lands for this purpose. The NTC was previously allocated a plot of land in the Sophia Exhibition Complex. Minister Harmon disclosed that government is in receipt of over 71 expressions of interest for the sugar estates currently being valuated by PricewaterhouseCoopers. He reminded that this will be one of the largest transfer of land from the state to a private company. Hence, government is taking steps to ensure the process is transparent and orderly.
That valuation will actually give us a good sense of what prices you're actually looking for the equipment, for the land, and all of these assets that belong to Gaisuko. And so it is an important step in the process to have these valuations done. So in fact, while some companies have actually made applications, expressed interest, what we are saying is let us get the proper valuation and know exactly what it is that we're doing so that it is not done in a piecemeal manner.
He clarified too that the second tranche of payments to sugar workers will be made in the second half of the year. The Ministry of Social Cohesion has been given $17.3 million. This sum will be divided among the registered African groups for the hosting of emancipation celebrations in the regions. A special emancipation event will be hosted at the Union Cultural Complex at the Union East Berbice, Quarantine, Region 6. And finally, in the roundup, Guyana will be hosting the Commonwealth Association for Public Administration and Management's CAPAM's 12th Biennial Conference from October 22 to 24 under the theme, Transforming the Public Sector for Climate Governance. Over 420 international and regional participants are expected here for the event. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
You have been watching InfoHub Recap, where we share the past week's top stories. Goodbye.